there is like a hierarchy in East Asian countries where Japanese people think they're on top, but Koreans are kind of number two in this hierarchy, and like the way they look down on others, and it's really awful. And I did a little research and I found out during the Vietnam War, Korea was the nation that helped America the most fighting that war. And a lot of these Korean troops that went into Vietnam, they committed hardcore atrocities, and they would murder in more systemic, organized fashion and be like way more brutal than the Americans. The scale of violence was much larger by American soldiers, of course, but the depravity and the dehumanizing nature of how Koreans were violent in Vietnam was on another level. And scholars believe this is sort of like, because they were occupied and colonized, it's sort of like they're repeating the trauma and the pattern on the Vietnamese people. And because of that whole hierarchy thing, Koreans were extra brutal to Vietnamese people. And this is not really known for a long time. Very few people even know Koreans were in the Vietnam War, like Korean nationals. But very recently, Korean courts ruled in favor of a Vietnamese victim, a survivor of one of these murder massacres, and they found that the Korean government was liable. This caused a lot of uproar because like the older boomer generation was like, hey, this is bullshit, you know, we shouldn't do this. But younger people were like, hey, we have to do this, because if we want the Japanese to admit and take accountability for their actions when they did the Comfort Woman Project, where they institutionally mass raped Korean women, then we have to admit our own atrocities with other nations. And it's sort of like a reckoning that has to happen. I had no idea, but it happened. It's a thing, and it's best to, you know, let the shadow get into the light if you want it to dissipate, because there's a lot of dark history that's been suppressed and repressed, and it just lingers and gets projected out in the culture in ways that are really terrible. And if we want Koreans to heal, we gotta really reckon with this sort of shit. There's a lot of weird things I noticed about Koreans in the older generation that speaks to some dark secrets that they don't talk about because it'll cause disharmony. But the only way to find harmony is to bring light to these dark things.